So I read this article from a lecturer in RMIT University who said, um, with international students, how making friends with Aussie locals. What are some of the benefits, the advantages and disadvantages with that as well. In my time, working with Langports and a little bit when I was working for Deakin University, was noticing where with some nationalities, you'll have a whole group of them and it's just the whole one nationality. So you'll have all the Japanese students and they'll just be friends with all the Japanese students. You'll have the Brazilian students, they'll be just friends with the Brazilian students. Same for the Swiss, they'll be just with the Swiss. And the reason we need to know is, why do these international students choose to be friends with only the people in their same nationality? Like, why do they not decide they want to be friends with locals, or why do they not want to meet other Aussies as well? So I think one of the reasons why these international students choose to be friends with the same nationalities is that it's that sort of safety blanket that they have. Not knowing that they have, final exams or, sort of these expectations, for them to do well with their English language experience. I think what usually happens is that international students like to be with friends with people from the same nationality, just to provide them with a sense of security, in terms of interacting with individuals and sort of thinking about, once that experience is over, that they can take those friendships back. But I think one of the downsides in being friends with people from the same nationality is, if you are learning English as a second language, chances are your English level isn't going to improve. Now, I've actually seen it myself. I've met students who started at a beginner level and 12 weeks later they're still stuck at the beginner's level. And it's no fault in the fact that they're not trying, it's the fact that they have this mentality that they don't really want to engage with other nationalities or learn or put the effort in towards actually meeting with other students, which is a real pity. And I can think of many examples where, as an Aussie myself, I think it's really important that we can engage with students, on the basis of providing them with experiences, compared to what other people are offering as well. And I sort of saw that when I was doing my trips to Melbourne, when I was going to Byron Bay, or with different individuals or different groups of people, as you can see from my video as well. It's these people who really wanted to make the best of their time here in Australia, and you know, for us in Australia, it's about providing them with an opportunity where they can learn a lot about who they are as a person, and also these students who did choose to sort of hang out with me with locals often, and this is sort of based on research, was that they weren't homesick. They definitely built new experiences, and they look at it as something that can enrich their experiences with some of their other friends when they decide to go back home. And often what I've noticed is that when there's been certain students who have met me through their language experience, they'll invite they'll tell their friends, and they'll encourage them to actually come to the Gold Coast and actually do their language stay here. And then they said, oh, you should get in touch with Shane, you should get to know Shane. And with all the times that I have as I mentioned, taking the students to Melbourne and doing all these sort of trips sort of outside of sort of my scope that I did at Langports, it sort of provided them with opportunities where they can really not only just practice their English, but really enhance their learning experience. And it's not just on me. I can think of a student from last year. His name is Francesco. He was from Italy, and he was great in terms of interacting with every student that you can think of, whether they were from his own country. He only had about, I'd say, 3 or 4 students who can actually speak his language, but he would be hanging out with people from Japan, Korea, with the Brazilians. He was able to integrate himself with amongst the student population, and it was very well liked at the school as well. On top of that as well, he was also great at engaging with the student service team as well, and really getting along with a lot of the members of the public when he was out and about. And he just had this very nice, calm demeanor about himself all the time. And he's one of many students who really set a great example of what international students can do when they are mixing with other different nationalities and other different cultures as well. And I think a lot of the international students would happen to say, well, it's very challenging to sort of be friends with locals. We don't know where sort of those boundaries are. But I often found that, with the students who are coming here to Australia, we all have a role to play in how we engage with those students. And I, really enjoyed having being a part of their experience and just providing them with this scope of knowledge and really giving it to them. Because could you imagine a whole group of one group of people who would choose to go on a trip, let's say to say Sydney, for example, and they would do all the touristic things and they'll sort of look through their Google Maps and figure out where they want to go. And then you compare myself with, let's say, a whole group of different individuals and everything else as well. They not only get the advantage of the locals, but they also would be taken to those places that has been recommended by, people living in that country. And I think it's really important for international students to really make the best of their time in Australia, not just to learn their English skills, but to really develop great friendships, not just with people from your own country, but with a whole different array of different nationalities. And it definitely is great for their mental well health and being as well.